Most people believe their net worth grows naturally as long as they earn more, save consistently, and avoid major financial mistakes. This belief feels reasonable. It is also the main reason net worth stays stagnant for decades. If this assumption were correct, the majority of middle and upper middle income households would steadily move into real wealth over time. Instead, data shows a different outcome. In the United States, many households earning between $70,000 and $150,000 still have a net worth that grows very slowly or not at all. In some cases, it even declines after adjusting for inflation. The issue is not lack of effort. It is a misunderstanding of how net worth actually grows. Most people think of net worth as a smooth, linear process. Earn more, save a bit more, invest when possible, and wealth will follow. In reality, net worth growth happens in phases, and those phases are not evenly distributed over time. Large portions of the population never move beyond the earliest phase, even after 20 or 30 years of working. The first mistake is assuming that consistency alone is enough. Saving $500 per month for 30 years sounds responsible. Mathematically, it is. But when those savings are spread across low growth assets interrupted by debt, lifestyle inflation, or long periods of inactivity, the outcome is far weaker than expected. A household saving $6,000 per year for 20 years contributes $120,000 in total. Even with moderate returns, the final net worth may still feel underwhelming relative to the effort involved. Another problem is that people measure progress incorrectly. Salary increases, home purchases, or higher credit limits are often mistaken for wealth creation. But income is not net worth. A primary residence with high leverage does not behave like a productive asset. Retirement accounts with irregular contributions do not compound efficiently. Without understanding which phase of net worth growth you are in, it is easy to believe you are progressing while remaining structurally stuck. There is also a timing issue that most people underestimate. Net worth growth is slow at first by design. In early stages, contributions matter more than returns. Later, returns matter more than contributions. Many people abandon or distort their strategy before reaching the point where compounding becomes meaningful. They change plans, stop investing, or increase consumption precisely when patience is required most. The consequence of this misunderstanding is visible in long-term outcomes. After decades of work, many individuals reach their 50s or early 60s with a net worth that depends almost entirely on future labor or a narrow retirement window. At that stage, options are limited. Risk tolerance is lower, time is shorter, and financial flexibility is reduced. The core problem is not discipline or intelligence, it is structural ignorance. Most people were never taught that net worth growth follows distinct phases, each requiring different priorities, behaviors, and expectations. Treating all stages the same leads to predictable failure. Before discussing solutions, it is necessary to understand these phases clearly. Without that framework, even well-intentioned financial decisions are likely to produce disappointing results over the long term. The stagnation of net worth does not come from a single mistake. It is the result of how income, behavior, and financial decisions interact over long periods of time. Most people operate without a system, even though they believe they have one. The first structural issue is income design. For the majority of households, income is almost entirely linear. Time is exchanged for money, and the ceiling is defined by hours, energy, and career progression. Raises and promotions increase cash flow, but they rarely change the structure of income. When income grows linearly and expenses grow alongside it, surplus remains limited. This makes it difficult to consistently allocate capital toward assets that actually grow net worth. Behavior reinforces this problem. As income rises, spending tends to follow. This is not always reckless behavior. It often feels justified. Better housing, reliable transportation, higher insurance coverage, and convenience purchases appear reasonable. Over time, however, these choices lock income into fixed obligations. The result is a household that earns more but has little flexibility. Net worth growth becomes fragile, dependent on uninterrupted income rather than on accumulated assets. A simple example illustrates this. Consider two individuals, both earning $90,000 per year. The first increases spending as income rises and saves what remains at the end of the month. Contributions fluctuate and often pause during high expense periods. The second treats savings and investing as a fixed expense, allocating $1,500 per month before discretionary spending. Over 10 years, the difference is not just $180,000 in contributions. It is consistency. One strategy compounds, the other resets repeatedly. The second issue is the absence of phase awareness. Many people apply the same financial logic at every stage of life. They are told to diversify, invest regularly, and avoid debt without context. These recommendations are not wrong, but they are incomplete. In early net worth stages, diversification can slow progress by spreading limited capital too thin. In later stages, lack of diversification increases risk. Without understanding when each rule applies, people follow advice mechanically rather than strategically. Standard financial advice also fails to address sequencing. A common recommendation is to maximize retirement contributions while carrying moderate consumer debt or maintaining a large emergency fund in low-yield accounts. Mathematically, this can delay net worth growth. Holding $40,000 in cash, earning minimal returns while paying 6-8% interest on debt, creates a negative spread. Over time, this drag compounds quietly. Another real-world scenario is homeownership. Many households consider buying a home their primary wealth-building move. While a home can be a useful financial tool, it is not inherently a net worth accelerator. High leverage, maintenance costs, property taxes, and illiquidity reduce its effectiveness as a growth engine. In many cases, the home increases perceived wealth without improving actual financial flexibility. The deeper problem is that most people optimize individual decisions instead of building a system. They focus on the next choice rather than on the long-term interaction of choices. Without a clear framework that adapts as net worth grows, progress remains slow and inconsistent. Understanding why standard advice fails is not about rejecting it. It is about recognizing that advice without structure leads to average outcomes. Net worth growth requires alignment between income design, behavior, and timing. Without that alignment, effort increases but results do not. The slow or stalled growth of net worth is rarely caused by insufficient income. In most cases, it is the result of a small number of repeatable mistakes that compound quietly over time. These mistakes are not dramatic, they are structural, and that is why their consequences are often underestimated. The first mistake is treating savings as optional rather than mandatory. Many households save only what remains after expenses. In practice, this leads to irregular contributions. If a person earning $85,000 saves an average of $400 per month inconsistently, total annual savings may fluctuate between $2,000 and $5,000. Over 10 years, that difference alone can exceed $30,000 in contributions, excluding returns. Irregularity weakens compounding because time, not effort, drives results. The second mistake is confusing asset accumulation with net worth growth. Buying a home, upgrading a vehicle, or increasing retirement account balances does not automatically improve financial position. A $450,000 home with a $410,000 mortgage adds limited net worth while increasing fixed costs. Over 20 years, property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and interest can easily exceed the home's nominal appreciation. In this scenario, perceived progress masks slow capital growth. A third mistake is over-diversification too early. When net worth is low, spreading $20,000 across multiple low-return investments reduces momentum. For example, investing $500 per month at a 5% annual return produces roughly $34,000 after 5 years. At 8%, the same contribution reaches about $36,700. The difference appears small early on, but over 20 years, it exceeds $40,000. Early inefficiency has long-term consequences. Another common error is ignoring opportunity cost. Holding excessive cash while carrying debt creates a negative financial spread. Consider an individual with $30,000 in savings, earning 1% while paying 7% on a car loan and credit balances. Over 10 years, the interest paid can surpass $12,000 more than the interest earned. This gap compounds quietly and delays progression to the next phase of net worth growth. The long-term impact of these mistakes becomes clear when projecting outcomes. After 5 years, the difference between structured and unstructured decisions may appear modest. After 10 years, flexibility begins to diverge. After 20 years, the gap is often decisive. One household enters their 50s with options, reduced work hours, investment flexibility, or early retirement planning. The other remains dependent on continued labor. Importantly, these outcomes occur across similar income levels. Two individuals earning $100,000 can experience vastly different financial trajectories. One builds a net worth that grows independently of income. The other remains vulnerable to job loss or economic shifts. The difference is not discipline or intelligence. It is decision structure. Net worth does not respond to effort alone. It responds to direction. Without correcting these core mistakes, additional income simply increases the scale of inefficiency. Understanding this distinction is essential before any solution can be effective. The solution to stalled net worth growth is not a single tactic. It is a shift from fragmented financial decisions to a structured system that adapts as net worth increases. This system focuses on sequencing, consistency, and the role each dollar plays over time. The first element of the solution is forced consistency. Savings and investing must be treated as fixed obligations, not discretionary actions. This means defining a percentage of income that is automatically directed toward net worth growth before lifestyle spending occurs. For many households, this starts between 15% and 25% of gross income, depending on debt and stability. Automation removes behavioral friction and ensures that time, not willpower, drives progress. The second element is phase-based allocation. In early net worth stages, the priority is building momentum, not optimizing for minimal risk. Capital should be concentrated into a small number of productive assets rather than spread thin. This does not mean speculation. It means focusing on assets with a clear long-term return history, such as broad market exposure or business ownership, rather than excessive cash or low-growth holdings. As net worth grows, allocation gradually shifts toward diversification and risk reduction. The third element is balance sheet clarity. Every asset and liability should be evaluated by its function. Assets are not defined by labels, but by behavior. An asset must either generate cash flow, appreciate reliably over time, or reduce future expenses. Liabilities are obligations that consume future income. When this framework is applied, decisions become clearer. Paying down a 7% loan often produces a better guaranteed outcome than holding idle cash, earning 1-2%. Another critical component is separating lifestyle from capital. Lifestyle spending should be funded from income, not from growing assets. This preserves compounding. For example, increasing consumption by $500 per month from income reduces long-term net worth less than withdrawing from investments to fund the same lifestyle increase. The distinction matters over decades. This system is stable because it does not rely on prediction or timing. It does not assume exceptional market conditions or rapid income growth. It works by aligning cash flow with long-term incentives. Each decision reinforces the next. Debt reduction improves cash flow. Improved cash flow increases investment capacity. Increased investment capacity accelerates compounding. Risk is controlled through structure rather than avoidance. Emergency funds are sized to actual risk, not fear. Investments are held long enough for volatility to normalize. Contributions continue regardless of market cycles. This reduces the impact of emotional decisions, which are among the most damaging financial behaviors. Importantly, this approach scales. A household earning $60,000 and one earning $160,000 can apply the same mechanics. The difference is speed, not direction. Over time, the system shifts net worth from income-dependent to asset-driven growth. This is not a shortcut. It is a framework that converts ordinary financial behavior into durable progress. The stability comes from alignment, not complexity. When the earlier parts are combined, the system becomes straightforward. Net worth growth follows three phases, and each phase requires a different focus. Problems arise when people apply the same behavior across all stages or react emotionally to short-term outcomes. The first phase is capital formation. Here, progress depends almost entirely on cash flow discipline and consistency. Returns matter less than contributions. If a household earning $90,000 allocates 20% of gross income, approximately $18,000 per year, net worth begins to move in a predictable direction. After 1 year, the change may feel small, the balance is still modest, and market movement is barely noticeable. The improvement is structural, not psychological. After 5 years, assuming stable contributions and moderate returns, net worth may reach $100,000, $130,000. At this point, the system begins to reinforce itself. Debt levels are lower, cash flow is more flexible, and financial decisions require less effort. Importantly, this progress does not depend on income growth. It depends on maintaining the structure. The second phase is acceleration. In this stage, returns start to contribute meaningfully. With a six-figure net worth, average annual returns can match or exceed yearly contributions. Over 10 years, the same household may reach $350,000, $500,000, even without dramatic income increases. Risk management becomes more important here, not because volatility increases, but because mistakes become more expensive. The third phase is independence. Net worth growth is now primarily asset-driven. Cash flow from investments or long-term appreciation reduces reliance on labor income. At this stage, financial decisions shift from accumulation to preservation and optionality. Time becomes an asset rather than a constraint. What changes across these timelines is not effort, but leverage. After 1 year, the benefit is control. After 5 years, the benefit is flexibility. After 10 years, the benefit is optionality. These outcomes are predictable when the system is applied consistently. The immediate instruction is simple and concrete. Define a fixed percentage of income to be directed toward net worth growth. Automate it. Evaluate every asset and liability by its long-term effect on cash flow and compounding. Reduce decisions that introduce negative spreads, such as holding low-yield cash while paying high-interest debt. Avoid restructuring the system in response to short-term market noise. The most common financial mistake is not lack of knowledge, but lack of structure. People change tactics too often and judge progress too early. Net worth does not respond to urgency. It responds to alignment. This framework does not promise speed. It offers predictability. Over long periods, predictability produces results that appear exceptional, even though they are built from ordinary decisions applied consistently. Understanding this shifts financial behavior from reactive to intentional. That shift, not income level, is what allows most people to finally move beyond the first phase of net worth growth.